Hi, I'm Natalie Thomas, Communications Manager with the OAVT. And many of you likely already know that over the last few years, the OAVT has been working alongside the College of Veterinarians of Ontario, or the CVO, to modernize the Veterinarians Act. It's been a really collaborative process with the CVO, and it will ultimately land or end or result in a new regulatory body that looks over both veterinarians and registered veterinary technicians. Now, most of the communications coming from the OAVT come from office staff like myself, but for a topic as big as legislative reform, we really wanted you to hear from the source, the people who are making decisions and helping to guide the association over the next few years with some of these big changes. So that would be your OAVT Board of Directors. We have a couple of them here today. We have OAVT President Phil Nichols, and we have Vice President Kirsti Clarida. And they're here to give us a bit of information about not only legislative reform, but Phil, I've heard you say that for the OAVT, that's just really one piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, that's correct, Natalie. I think it's really important that all of our membership understand that the OAVT is both a regulatory body and a membership association, and those two things are very different hats that we have to use as we approach all of our duties.
That's right. And well, this is a perfect segue into talking about the regulatory body versus the association. Kirsti, you were explaining this really well before. Currently, we have, the CVO and we have the OVMA. And for us, the OAVT is both things. What will that maybe look like in the future?
Well, what we're talking about right now is the divide between regulatory affairs, which is public interest, and association, which is member benefit. And so if you're going to look at the veterinary landscape right now with veterinarians, what we have is the College of Veterinarians of Ontario, and that is the regulatory framework. And then we have the OVMA, which is the Ontario Veterinary Medical Association, and that's the member services driven portion of the industry. And the OAVT is dual mandate, like you pointed out. We have both. So in the future, what we're talking about as a modern Veterinary Act would be one regulatory body where both veterinarians and RVTs are regulated under the same roof. And that would take the regulatory arm out of the OAVT. And that would leave the membership services piece. So the OAVT could sustain itself just like the OAVMA is sustaining itself on member services, member-driven initiatives, and policy and procedures that way.
And Phil, you've been really reassuring talking about this, because I've heard you say that you believe this will allow the OAVT to even do more for their members.
I really do. I do believe that. I think a big part and a chunk of the work that we do around the board table and in the office is in that regulatory piece. And we have numerous committees that are working on the regulation side. And by having that morph into that new body and that new college as we move forward, we're going to have so much more time to focus on things that help benefit our members and move our association and our membership and our industry forward. We can focus on helping build the CE that's available for RVTs within Ontario and beyond. I think it's important to note that the OAVT conference is one of the largest RVT-focused conferences in North America, specifically in Canada, definitely. And we do a lot of that work to help move our membership forward and help benefit our members.
And to build on what you're saying, having a dual mandate organization means our priorities are also split. And so once we have the regulatory side solely in a regulatory arm, and we have an association side that is solely membership driven, I think we can do so much more because all of our attention will be focused on that.
If we go back to this new regulatory body, are the little details still being worked out? Is that where we are right now?
Definitely. There's a consultation piece went out in 2017, and it was meant to address how we would modernize the Veterinary Act in the province of Ontario, and we worked on that with the CVO as well. And it did talk a bit about scope of practice and delegated tasks and tasks of higher authority that an RVT would be able to perform. But there's other details. What does the new regulatory body look like? How do people enter into the regulatory framework? How do they leave the regulatory framework? How are they going to sit on committees? And all of those details need to be worked out still. So we're still working with the CVO on that piece right now.
Yeah, and I think we are still very much working through all of the details as we continue to move forward and look at what our association is doing. There's a lot of work going into the table with legislative reform and the work of modernizing the Veterinary Act with the College of Veterinarians of Ontario. And as we want to see that move forward, we'll see the association begin to shift from that dual mandate that Kirsti was talking about, from the regulatory side and the association side, into those two bodies. And the work that goes into maintaining protection of standards for the public and the public interest and the animals that are out there in the community is so important. And having that become one body, it emulates and it mirrors what we see every day in general practice, where we have veterinarians and RVTs working side by side, and it's great in practice, and we want to see that reflected in the legislative framework as we continue to move forward for the best interest of the public, the best interest of the animals, and the best interest of our RVTs as well. I think it's just great. We're at a really good time in the industry to be able to move things forward and start to see things develop, but most importantly, we want to make sure that we maintain and champion RVTs for who they are and what we bring to the field and what we bring to the industry. For years we've done this, and we continue to maintain it, and it's not easy. It's not easy to become an RVT, and it is not easy to maintain that position in place of an RVT, but it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be easy. It shouldn't be something that people can just walk off the street and do, and we've fought hard, and we've built up a profession of recognized registered veterinary technicians across the industry, and it's great, and we want to just see that continue to keep going.
If I'm a member right now and I'm thinking, okay, so what else is the association going to be working on? What are some of the things you want the members to know?
As an association, we have a number of priorities. Those priorities are obtaining official recognition of RVTs within Ontario legislation and regulations, promoting recognition of RVTs as an integral part of the professional veterinary care team amongst public and veterinary communities, enhance the health and welfare of animals by strengthening the regulations of our profession, and supporting our members and representing our profession through a strong and united association. I think it's important that our membership can build careers in veterinary medicine and not just have them as a transient passing job. And we see a lot of turnover in our association, and I think in the profession as a whole. And we want to help build an industry and a profession where people can grow in that career and they can have multiple different career paths, and whether that means advancing in general practice or continuing to grow maybe in academia or going into industry and those sort of things. It's really important that people can grow and develop a career as an RVT. We've seen since 2014 the wage rate grow to current standards by about 18%. And I think that 18% has outpaced an average inflation of around 9%. So we're certainly going in the right direction, and we want to see that continue to grow and continue to develop so that our members can have lasting careers and not just be a transient piece, but have a career and a life that they can be passionate about and continue to develop every day.
And building on what you're talking about, Phil, the modernization and the changes to the Veterinary Act would see RVTs distinct from the auxiliary term, which is where they're currently grouped. And so all of the skills and all of the training and all of their expertise are devalued when they are not distinct in the framework of regulation. And once that happens, now we can start to look at specifically the higher level, higher order tasks that they are being asked, are being responsible, are being accountable to perform. And hopefully that moves the conversation on wages into a different direction.
Yeah, and I'm going to jump back in there again, Kirsti, because I think that is just so important. And having that conversation and having that new college and our association with those two distinct focuses really allows us to help push the entire profession forward and help make the benefits for all of our membership so much more profound. And I think one of the other key things that we were able to do recently in our recent past, in 2016, we launched the Membership Assistance Program, and seeing that come into the field was so needed, especially right now with compassion fatigue and burnout never being more present in our industry, and the health of our members. And I mean, that's that other hurdle that keeps people from maintaining a career. And we want to make sure that that career is lifelong and that it is fruitful and it helps them benefit. And I think we're 3,800 RVTs now and still growing in Ontario, and we want to make sure that those members get all of the concern and compassion and attention that they need from our association so we can continue to move forward.
Absolutely.
And just for anyone who needs to know, watching all of our members, RVTs and retired RVTs and their immediate family can access the Member Assistance Program, and all that information is in the OAVT member portal.